Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of The Drawing Board. My name is David Franklin. I'm your host. Thank you so much for watching. And if you tuned in last week, we're talking about whether or not your feelings matter, whether or not you have a right to be offended. And this week is just a continuation on that. We're examining the idea, what is a right? So last week, I started getting a little bit heated, and I had some quiet moments. And I kind of just talk in front of the camera, talk out my thoughts, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do again today. So we're talking about go back and watch the other episode, but as a recap, we're talking about if you were asexual, some evidence might show that for certain asexual people, you have a hormone imbalance. And studies have shown that some of the biggest insecurities in women are very non-feministic, that they're very based on how you look, how old you are, being concerned about your sexuality. We're talking brain sizes between the different races, saying one race is more intelligent than the others. And I was talking about all those different things. And as a straight, heterosexual white man, it's really easy to hear say all those things and say them calmly. But I started connecting it to myself a little bit, talking about how as a man, you're told that you don't play well in groups. You want to be the alpha, so you try and push other people down. That with your higher levels of testosterone, yeah, you might be more likely to do well in a modern business climate, but you're also more likely to be someone's rapist. You're more likely to be someone's murderer. You're more likely to steal from people's houses and, be the bane of society. You are the downfall. You're the horrible. All the horrible things we hear about in the news basically happen because of misplaced testosterone. Statistically, as a man, I should be the one who murders, rapes, and kills you. Statistically. And if you get to know me, and I talked about this last week, I'm going to be doing some podcasts that examine stories and talk about their morality. And even on this show, I talk about a lot about morality because it's really important to me. Not only is it interesting from a scientific and philosophical and psychological perspective, but it's really important to me as a person. It's really important to me that I do the right thing, which is really, really intriguing, just for a side note, because I identify as being agnostic, so I don't necessarily have a religious belief, but yet morality is extremely important to me. So anyways, all that aside, no matter what the scientific evidence, and I'm coming at this from a perspective of someone who can actually say that science is against me. Science, even though I like to consider myself a very moral person, a lot of people think that about me, science does say because I have a higher testosterone level that I am far more likely to crash a car. I need higher car insurance. I should be watched more. I'm more likely to be your murderer, your rapist. And I can be offended by that. But do I have a right? And what is a right? We talk so often about, in America specifically, about the right to free speech, the right to unrestricted press, the right to bear arms, the right to an attorney. And we have all these rights. We have the Bill of Rights, and we talk about rights this, right that. And my question is, what is a right? We've talked about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and those are needs. You've got your safety, you've got your physiological things, you've got people loving you, having money, knowing who you are, and on the very top feeling like you're a good person. Those are all important things. They're all on the hierarchy of needs. But where are our rights? Are we entitled to every single one of those things? And on what level does that morality exist? So is a right something that we're given intrinsically as human beings? When we're born, do we have rights? And is it something we're entitled to through our entire lives? If there's an environmental or economic collapse, like in the case of Hurricane Katrina, people were shooting each other. They had guns, and National Guard had to go in and kind of round up some guns because people were killing each other all to get more resources for them and their own family so that they could eat, and that meant taking it from other people. Is it a human right to not be shot? Is it a human right not to die? Is it a human right to have a gun and to take someone else's rights from them? What is a right? And if there is a right, is it something that's given to you naturally, intrinsically? Are you born with it, and therefore everyone deserves it? Is it something that's given religiously? Are you, if you do believe in a god or gods or faith or energy or whatever, is it something that's given to you through some sort of supernatural effect? And what happens when that's violated? What's the penalty? Or is it something that's given politically, and that when the political infrastructure falls, when we're more concerned about eating than we are about following the rules, following the laws, that rights disappear? Does a rabbit have a right not to be eaten by me if I'm hungry? Do chickens have a right not to be bred in massive amounts and put one right on top of each other in sort of an unethical farming? Or is that just something that's a horrible thing to do, but hey, I got a meal and it's my right to eat? Or is there no such thing as a right? In my mind, I'm putting all this out there, in my mind, there is no such thing as a right. There is no level here, whether that's your safety, your food, your water, your air, your physiological needs, shelter, safety, up to morality and love and all those things. You are not entitled to any of those things. If you go into space, you are not entitled to oxygen. If you get lost in the woods, you are not entitled to shelter. If you're a terrible human being, you're not entitled to love. You're not entitled, if you steal and kill, to feel like a good person. You're not entitled to morality. It doesn't matter. You don't have any rights. You are not entitled to anything. But the root of the word right is essentially right and wrong, in my opinion, where I would guess it would come from. And that is the right thing to do. So, in a way, your rights are based off of the morality of others, in my own opinion. When I have time, when I am safe, and I don't have to worry about where my next meal is, so I wouldn't have to kill or be faced with the idea of being killed or killing in order to survive, like in Katrina. I don't have to worry about shelter. I'm nice and fully clothed. I have people who love me and care about me, so I'm not worried about going and retaliating at school with a gun to prove to someone that I am worth something. Once I have time for this morality on top, then I worry about how I treat people. I worry about what people are worth to me, to the world. And as a human being, the fortunate thing is, even when our safety or our physiological needs are low, we are logical enough to sort of supersede the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know I use it a lot as a sort of tool, but the truth is, in its own way, it's extremely flawed. Because the idea is that when you are hungry or you're thirsty or you have no shelter, that sort of an animalistic instinct takes over, your morality falls off the top and you kill. You kill and you steal and you do what it takes to stay alive. And then, once you're well fed and you have shelter, you struggle with the repercussions of it. And I think there's a certain level of truth to that. But I think there's also, for the people who can think logically, even in their most emotionally desperate states, that there's sort of a retribution, that we can think through the circumstance and choose morality over our own fears and our own anxieties and our own turmoil and the dangers that we face. We can think through them and we can act morally whether or not we are safe. So a right, I do not think is anything that you're entitled to. However, if you care about being moral, if you as a person, not talking about your rights, I'm talking about you as a person, your morality, if you care about other people, you will treat them the right way. That's all I got for you. So anyways, thank you so much for watching today's episode of The Drawing Board. If you're liking these videos, if you have some requests or comments, let me know in the comment section below. If you're really, really liking them, you can really help me out by sharing this video or this channel with people who might also like the channel. It helps us get discovered. And it'll help me, hopefully, through like advertisements and things like that, get the money to work less hours at a normal job and spend more time actually making videos, so I'm not so worried about actually getting them out there. And you can help me with that. Just, you don't need to pay me or anything. You could just let people know, and hopefully advertisements will be enough. But one way or another, I'm going to do what I can. That's why I'm doing this format, where I just kind of sit and talk, because it requires less editing. That helps me get more videos out. But anyways, sharing does help. And make sure to tune in next week. We're going to be talking about what being evolved is, whether or not you as a human being are evolved, and what it looks like. Does that mean if I'm a human being and I'm evolved, that a dog isn't evolved? I don't know. We'll see you next week, and we'll answer that question. See you guys.